I guess we should say welcome to eye and heart to heart.
Yeah, good job. Yes, welcome. What
We
are we
will
going to
get
talk about
used to this.
today? Huh?
Well, I want to start with your experiences from the time that, from what, 2 weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, it's been 2.5
So
weeks
let's
since we
start
last did
there
this.
so that your experiences and anything that we experience, we should talk about because it's going to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And so let's do that.
Well, let me address that because that's something I've been battling with the last couple of months. Because I mentioned in the last show, 2 years ago, I went through a grieving process where I grieved the actual world itself at the end of, well, all of 2017. And now I find myself in the last few weeks back almost in that headspace of like, well, what's the point? Not in a helpless or hopeless sort of way, but like, what's the point that we keep talking about all this stuff? What is the point that we keep talking about the stimulation in NPCs, or keep talking about the political corruption and how religion is, keeping people tied up and locked up and contracted, right? Not expanding, and the money situation and like just absolutely everything in this realm. What is the point that I keep watching the people that I watch, and because I feel the passion for it, like I always have, the passion for the quest for truth and stripping off the layers and getting to the deeper meaning of everything. But at the same time, I don't know, it's almost like in 2008, for a couple of years, I was eating that information, it was 24/7 that I was just downloading all this stuff all the time, watching videos, listening to shows, reading articles, participating in Facebook groups and things like that. But in the last few months, I've definitely noticed that I'm still passionate about the quest for truth, but at the same time, not really passionate about information anymore. And so even yesterday maybe this is something I've been struggling with the last couple of weeks too, that's made it hard for me to want to get together and do a show, is just this like, well, why do we keep talking about this? And you just said it, and you just reminded me without me even bringing this up that like, because other people don't know if they're losing their minds or something, so to see these two relatively sane seemingly sane ladies talking about all this stuff, seemingly sane, talking about all this stuff, that's a great reminder, so thank you, because I was struggling with that a little bit.
I have too, and remember I told you sometimes I have to disconnect, because I got to process, and then I go back full force, and oh god damn it, I gotta be in the house, and then I go full force, and okay, hold on, I gotta get him outside before he dies. Come on, outside.
Okay.
There, he's gone.
Aww.
I took 2 honeybees out of my house yesterday. Did he come back in?
He's trying.
No, outside.
He wants to be around you.
Oh, outside. There you go.
We need to look up what the spiritual meaning of bee is.
That's 4. I had 2 yesterday and 2 today.
You're getting surrounded by bees.
Yeah, that's funny. I should actually. I brought my cards out too, so that I could. I think there is a bee in these.
I thought you meant an actual bee, and I imagined you. I'm just so stupid sometimes. No, I imagine you opening up the cards and a bee just flying out.
Oh my god, that would go so perfectly.
Laureen, that's a really weird place to keep a bumblebee. I don't know why you're keeping it in your cards. That's strange.
Yeah. So what were we saying? Here we go again.
Oh geez, who knows? Oh, that it is helpful to somebody. If even just one person goes, you know what? Okay, maybe I'm not so insane.
And even though they might not
we've done
be
something.
At this level, they could be searching like we were in the beginning.
Exactly.
Not that because when we talk, it goes from when we first started to the middle to the end. Not even the end, because there won't be.
Yeah, we are.
But anything that pertains to something that they've been maybe wondering about. Not that we have the answers, because that's not even it either. But it's a stepping stone, and to where we've gotten, right? Yeah. So it can help somebody. And the fact that when you come up with something and I have, or vice versa, you say something that triggers, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah. That works so well too.
Yeah, that's
Really,
true. That's a really good point.
yeah.
Yeah, I've had my moments the last few weeks where I've been wondering about that, and maybe that's part of the process in this stripping off the layers as well, is that we get to us, we are at a certain point where we just eat information 24/7, and then a few years go by where you're doing that, and then at a certain point you've stripped off enough layers that you find yourself going, well, I don't need the information anymore, because the minute that I say, for example, if you've seen, I say, if you've seen one false flag, you've seen them all. So like when all of a sudden a new false flag, a new attack of some sort, well, it's still an attack no matter what, a new attack of some sort comes out and they try to paint it like it is a certain
Yeah.
way, you can see now, I know from my
Right.
experience, I can see all of the, wait, what? Just, what? I'm sorry. I just got a thing on Zoom that said running out of time. This meeting will end in 10 minutes. Upgrade now to remove the 40-minute time limit. So we may have to pause and do what I was talking about
And
earlier.
come back in, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to say that even though sometimes you say, I don't need the information, something new is always going to come out that you're going to need that information. And I'm only saying that because for me, myself, when something new comes out, if you have to stay up to date with what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think you will dive really deep. I think that just enough that you know what's going on so you can be aware. Awareness is right now is really important. Now, with listening to Raw yesterday and then today a couple of his videos on Patreon, I actually, now I've been following the Notre Dame thing. I did get some information on it, but I haven't been on Facebook to post anything and to see what anybody else has posted. I did get some information that was very good about it.
Yeah.
Because it all has to do, it's etherical. Like whatever's happening there, it's on that level. And then Raw talked about it, and I got so much out of what he said is that sometimes I wonder if I'm going to be, I feel that as I find people enjoying their channels, because I never did that before. This is something new for me. I've never done it. That these are the people I'm going to stick with because I believe, well, there's that word again. I like the information and it feeds me to that degree. If I need to go searching for something else or just happen to come across something else, I can add that information to what he said or the other person, like Randy, well, they talked about that on Randy's show, right? The Notre Dame Cathedral. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm satisfied with that information right now.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying, I think that this is part of the process, that at a certain, because I know Emily Moyer went through this at the beginning of the year too, where it was just like, I just don't care. It's kind of, like, yes, I care in a compassionate sense, but I just don't care. I know all this stuff's going on.
And it's okay to let it go at points, and then it's okay to come back and get something new on it, or whatever, move on. Absolutely, yeah, I get it.
And I think what you're saying is what I would say, the people that I'm watching now, I think are going to be the people that I continue to check in with.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Whereas I don't feel like I really don't feel like I'm going to go back to watching Project Camelot or Alex Jones. I feel like, those were stepping stones like we've talked about before. And I've gotten past that point in the river, so it's like, I don't need to go back. Why do my goal is ahead of me, like, so, or up, depending how you want to look at it.
Before, this is just another piece to all of that we started with when we first started doing these shows, is that all those stepping stones that we let drop because we don't need that information or found out they're disinfo anyways. Some of them, there was tidbits, but it wasn't all good. Where Raw is not going to steer us in the wrong direction. Randy's not going to steer us in the wrong direction. Emily is not going to steer us in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
So that's why when we connect with, I guess we're learning to discern better as we go. And that was big for me. Like that, the word discernment, I was like, well, how do you do that? But you really do it every day in your life. You don't recognize what you're doing, but you do, right? You make decisions accordingly that are best for you or whoever else is around you, right? So I think that you do the same thing with information.
Yeah.
So yeah, perfect. It makes so much sense.
You pinged something for me when you said the word discernment, because this is something that's kind of swam through my head for a while. What is the one thing that almost everybody is blaming, the Mandela effect or glitches or the time skips or whatever else on? And it's CERN. So discernment. It's like dissing CERN mentality or something like that. It's just a really weird.
Now, Ra, again, one of his videos this morning, he broke down the word discernment.
Yeah. Did he?
And he said it had CERN in it. And he said CERN was actually a god.
Cernunos or something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, went into that whole thing of why CERN is CERN. So you might want to, I don't know if you'll be able to access it. I think it was on his Patreon.
Yeah.
But
I want to start listening to his show, because I've caught him a few times. He was on Chris and Cherie a year or something ago.
It would be the one on TFR. His last broadcast. Try that one on TFR. Okay. I think that's the one he said about CERN.
That's really.
But he talks a lot about everything that's going on right now on that one too. I'm not done it. Hey, I wrote it down. But I saw that your thing came through to get on. I stopped his video at
55. Of course you did.
That's crazy.
All the time now. We talked about this last week. How the numbers are just ramping up like crazy. And
dude, the amount of pictures I've taken on my phone and my stove for the last couple of weeks, since me and you we've just been emailing, really, it's crazy.
Yeah. And well, I told you about this, but I'll tell the audience about this because it was crazy. I was watching just a YouTuber, Drew Gooden, which is just this dude who's really funny, but he breaks down shitty old movies and things like that, like, or weird Christian movies or something, just like really weird stuff, right? And TikTok people, like on TikTok, this is this app where people lip sync to songs and try to act sexy. It's super weird. But anyway, he was talking about, I can't remember what the video was about, but in it, he said, he was showing this video that was on CNBC, and the guy in the video it was all about like how much you should tip at a restaurant, which immediately I'm just like, fuck rules. And but this guy's like, here I am at a restaurant and I'm going to show you my receipt. And up on the screen comes this receipt. Remember I sent you the screenshot of this? His receipt, there were 3 items on it that were 18, 18, 18, which is my favorite number, by the way. So to see that was weird. And then his tax was 8.875%, which is almost 8.88. And the number amount came to $8.88 for his tax, and then his whole bill came to $108.88. And I've been seeing 88 everywhere. So to have this weird receipt randomly come on the screen, and there's more to the story that I haven't told you, by the way, because I'm not 100% on this, but I think I'm right about this. Anyway, this receipt, 888, has been following me, 88 has been following me, and 18 is my favorite number. So to have 18, and that's the other thing. If you look at the receipt where it says 18, 18, 18, there are 3 8s on top of each other, right? And 3 1s. Now here's the other part, and I'm not 100% on this, and I need to do some more recon on it, but I'm just realizing it in the last couple of days when I think about this experience. I'm pretty sure I know that guy, that anchor, because there was this girl that I worked with that I used to actually live with at a certain point in Los Angeles when I would work in Los Angeles, and we'd write music together and stuff like that. And I don't know if I should say her name or not, but she is a reporter on a Los Angeles news station. And she just got engaged to her boyfriend, who is another reporter at another station. And I'm pretty sure that was him.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. If not, they are doppelgangers, which is actually something else I wanted to talk to you about. I had a doppelganger experience, not my own, but my husband's sister, Amy. I totally saw her doppelganger like a week and a half ago at the grocery store. And it just flipped me out because I'm walking down I know I'm going off on a tangent as I do.
No,
you know,
no.
I'm walking down the aisle and I see this girl and I'm just staring at her. Like I can't stop staring at her because she looks exactly like Amy, and I'm like, that's Amy, but something's totally off. And then she turned and looked at me and smiled and went, oh, and I went, that's not Amy. And then at that moment, I realized that she was like 2 inches taller and like a little thinner and things like that. So that was just a really freaky deaky experience for me and started the brain gears going. So I saw her so that's just when it really clicked in that, oh, that's not the person I think it is. It's just literally someone, and it freaked me out for the whole rest of the day. Like I kept bringing it up to Eric, like, did she not look like Amy? And he's like, oh yeah, she looked like her. Like,
Wow.
That's really weird. And like, it was so identical that I didn't even notice the differences to begin with. And it was after she turned and smiled at me and I was like, oh, that doesn't look like Amy. That's a totally different smile, and then I saw she was taller, her hair was shorter, she was thinner, just all this weird stuff that I just didn't notice at first because the identicality was so, I'm not sure if I have a doppelganger. I don't know.
I think we all do.
Yeah. What does that mean? What do you think that means?
I don't know. I did hear about this, God, a long time ago, that we have doubles on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
What it means, I don't know. If I were to ever come into contact, or you would ever come into contact, you would have to have some deep conversations with this person to see if they're totally like you or they're your opposite.
Yeah.
Because everything has its opposites here. Like, look at some of the insects have, like, let's say the monarch butterfly. There's the good butterfly, there's the bad butterfly, but they look so freaking close.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several insects like that have their opposites that are dark.
The same thing is done in like the plant kingdom, where you'll have one plant in one area that causes like a poisonous effect, but within a certain number of feet or whatever, there'll be another plant that gets rid of that effect. That is the antidote. Right?
Exactly. But the dark monarch, the bad monarch would kill the good monarch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just gotta grab my water.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm just thinking,
That makes me wonder when you have two people who would be doppelgangers. Like if I got this girl and Eric's sister in the same place, what would happen? Would something happen energetically or on a multidimensional level, or what would happen? It's just something that I started thinking about.
That's an interesting theory. That's an interesting thought. I would like to see that too.
Would they maybe empower each other? Kind of like, okay, so there was this movie way back in the 90s. I don't know if you saw it, and it was called The One, and it was a Jet Li movie.
Oh. I might
so in
have.
The One, it dealt with multiple dimensional realities that were all kind of slightly different, and it was him over and over and over and over and over again. And what was happening is one of his counterparts was going, because it was in a certain reality where they could access other dimensional realities through portals and things. It was very much like government controlled and military and all that. So they had the portals, of course. They should be the last people to have the portals. I'm just going to put that out there. But one of his counterparts turned evil, essentially, and started going to all the different dimensions, which you could only do if you were an agent or a military person or whatever. And he started going to all the different dimensions and killing his counterparts, because every time he'd kill one, he would just download all of their power, all of their strength, all of their knowledge. Yeah. And so when it got down to the end, it was literally down to the killer one and the last one. It was down to the last two, like the main protagonist of the story. We follow him from the very beginning, plus this killer. And the killer ends up incarcerated and is fighting for eternity on a pyramid of all things.
Oh my
I recommend watching this movie because on the surface it's just like some stupid fucking martial arts action film, you know. But now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, okay.
There was some little gems.
There's a little something in there. At the end, he's fighting for all eternity on a gray stepped pyramid with all of these demons and all this other stuff. What?
That is weird that you're even saying that. Because
Hollywood strikes again.
Again, the Rob Castaldo was talking about this on his TFR one, where he tried to remote view the Vatican. So he said that he when he tells you how he went about going in. Oh, I got a yellow bird. That yellow bird's been hanging around. I got to get some bird food. I put a little bit out there yesterday, but it's not enough. And he said when he got there, all of these energies with really evil faces started coming at him. So it actually, because he wanted to go into the where they house all the books.
Oh, the Vatican Library.
The library. He wanted to go in and see, and he said all of these energies started coming out at him, and then their faces were turning to saints' faces. So he thinks his theory on it is that their essences have been captured when they died, and they're using them as like what do you call those guys that guard?
Like conduits or something, maybe.
They guard the area, the space, the energies, I guess. And so, and they have that. What you just said brought that back because they know how to do that shit. Yeah. So in that movie, I would think that's pretty real.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You got to TFR and listen to his latest show. It was 4 or 5 that he recorded.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I want to get more into raw stuff because, like,
it was yesterday.
Like I told you, I just yesterday listened to his interview with Randy Moggins, and he's a fascinating cat. You know, like
I mean, his lineage is crazy. I mean, all of his experiences up to this point and what's brought him to this point. There's no denying that there's something there. He's a warrior of his bloodline, and he was talking about bloodlines too. It's just, I don't know. I knew that he had, because I was following his stuff on YouTube. I'm trying to bring up that thing I ordered from him. And he ended up not doing them anymore, and now they're on Patreon. And I was really getting a lot out of that. And then when he went on Patreon, I thought I'm never going to be able to listen to him again because I don't know if that's going to be okay to do. Yeah. You know, pay monthly to hear somebody talk. But now I'm in a position I can, so I'm doing it. But he's a really interesting character for sure. I totally agree.
Yeah, and you got in a little bit about the Notre Dame thing, and I don't completely understand it. And
okay,
I think I'm gonna listen again to his interview with Randy because I was making dinner and chickens were going off at the same time. So
listen again, and I think most of it's there with Randy. Yeah. Then he does go into it a little bit on the one on his Patreon too. But or on the one on TFR too.
Well, the thing that stuck out for me, and correct me if you remember it differently, is that essentially what he said happened with Notre Dame, why it was like, well, essentially like set on fire, or with who knows with what, but that what that was the unleashing of the less than divine feminine. Okay, so that makes sense to you? Okay.
Yes, they talked about the big tower that's on the top of it that fell.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it really does look like some sort of energy, like sending
It does.
information or collecting
And he talks
information.
about that too, how he thinks they were broadcasting
Yep.
from it. Yeah. I'm just trying to bring it up so I can.
What do you think they would be broadcasting is my question.
Oh, he talks about it's negative.
Oh, well, of course it's
Right?
negative. Do they do anything positive? These people who sit on golden chairs?
No, because it's all about the fight right now on this planet is for our DNA.
Yes. That's why you see
about.
Ancestry and Me and all that stuff. What is it? Ancestry and what's the other ones? 23andMe or something like that, where you send in your DNA. Yeah. I would love to know. I would love to know what my genetic background is.
Then do it privately, where you're not sending it into. You can do it privately.
I would have to do it that way.
Yes. I'm just going to his mystical spiral. He's got a lot on his website too, so you'll be able to get a lot out of his website too. Just going to where's that? Here. So this is what I ordered. Off his website.
Nice.
So you know what this is? It's called the Daywalker Spiral DNA series.
It reminds me immediately when you showed me. It made me think of something my friend Bibi bought like 8 years ago at a spiritual store. And what hers was, it was literally just it was a tachyon wand. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
G protection. Ra has specifically designed this to protect and activate your genetic and ancestral memory. Protects you in the light and the dark.
Wow.
Yep.
That sounds awesome.
I ordered that, and then there's this one. This is called a tensor tool, which I want to get next.
Yes, he showed that on Randy's show. Yeah.
And that's
beautiful.
Why I went here, is because the tensor tool is also 99.99% copper. Dreamcatcher spiral out tensor is designed for EMF protection, designed to form an energetic force field that protects your physical body and your energetic layers, designed to protect you in the spiritual realms during dream time. Ra also uses frequency generator with Orgon pyramid at 432 MHz to enhance the power of this tool. So that'll be the next one that I order.
Nice. But, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've been wondering lately about copper. Copper is something that I've really been feeling drawn to the last I always have, out of all of the all of the metals sort of thing. Copper has always been the one that stood out for me. But lately in my art, I've been playing more with just creating copper gradients when I paint and things like that. Like copper and bronze and gold and silver and, you know, opalescent, you know, I've really been feeling drawn to that lately, and I don't know why. I feel there's something in copper. There's something really important that maybe will help us recover memories or something.
Copper was used back. Well, it's been used for pretty well ever. So the thing that I learned about it, and I do work with copper too, because my husband, being the electrician, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they always bring back the majority of the wires that they don't use when they're doing a job, and they sit in the back of the shop. So I go through them and I take all the copper wiring out of them if I need it. Like you splice the wires down, and it's all copper wiring inside, and they're really tiny. So you could use a needle nose and twist them and put them around like your rocks. Like I could totally take this and make a really nice copper ring around it. But the ancients used to use copper to heal trees. If there was a tree that was damaged on the bottom, it was going to die, they would wrap it in copper, and the tree would totally grow around the copper.
Nice.
So you know,
that's amazing.
Copper has to have some type of something to it where nature connects with it like that.
Yes.
So
Wow.
it's funny how you say you've been working with it. And I'm reading a book right now, and I did go through a bunch of paragraphs that I wanted to read, but there's a lot there. Rose gold right now is something we're supposed to be working with. So
Yes.
rose gold is almost like coppery looking.
Can I just say that's really weird, because for some reason the word rose and the feeling of rose has come up for me the last couple of days. A few days ago, I think at this point everyone knows my favorite game is Sims, whatever. So I was playing Sims, and I created a new character. I can't remember her first name. Oh, Arwen Rosewood. And I was like, something about Rosewood. And then yesterday we went and we bought some more starter plants, and they had a new tomato. We had just bought 2 tomatoes from them. But I saw this other tomato that was black on the outside and blood red on the inside. And I was like, oh, I just need that. And it was called the Indigo Rose tomato. And I was like, Indigo Rose. The next time I play Sims, I'm going to make Indigo Rose some Sim named Indigo Rose.
That's
so
awesome.
It's funny that you're saying rose gold when I've had this experience of rose the last couple of days.
Every time we talk, these things come out like this.
Yep.
This is crazy. Because Rose, again, Raw talked about the rose in the one he did with Randy.
The rose window.
Cathedral, where roses, he thinks that was a type of a portal.
Yep. Have you seen the OA, the TV show?
No, I don't watch TV.
Okay. We don't have a TV, but I just download stuff and watch stuff that interests me. I love sci-fi stuff and multidimensional stuff, of course. But in the second season of the OA, this may be spoilery for people, but whatever. Watch it anyway. That is a whole thing. There's a rose window in this big, like Gothic-looking house that acts as a portal into other dimensional realities.
Well, they showed that on the show. They showed that clip.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, they showed that.
So isn't that crazy?
Very crazy. Because you're connecting to everything that is important right now.
Yeah.
And you don't even know.
I think I mentioned that in the last show, that like the last 6, 8, especially this year, and since the end really of October, since October last year, I've been noticing that I've experienced something, and then the next day or that day or 2 days later, I'll watch Unfuckers, or I'll watch Off Planet, or I'll listen to Chris and Cherie or whatever. And they're talking about the exact same thing.
Yes.
I had an experience in like September, and I was in the studio and I was thinking something specific, but I don't remember what it was now. I don't remember what it, that made sense. And I looked at my clock on my laptop, and it said 11:33 and 33 seconds. And I went, of course. And the very next day, I watched an episode of Chris and Cherie live. And at some point, Chris said, oh, and the number 1133 is very significant, and I'll talk about it later. And he never talked about it later. And I was like, what does it mean? Because I saw it the day before.
Right.
And it wasn't and now I'm seeing it all the time. I saw it yesterday. I saw 11:22 yesterday, 11:33, 1:36, which doesn't mean anything to most people, but 1:36 is a huge number for me. 1:36, 4:36, 10:36, 8:36. Those are numbers that I constantly see all the time as well. My nephew was born at 1:36. We live at 1:36. My husband works at 11:36.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it's like just these constant, and just these numbers that continue to come up. And I actually looked up 1036 because when I was a child, one of my old friends, Tally, growing up, her phone number ended with 1036. And I always thought that was weird as a kid because we met in like 6th grade. I always thought that was weird as a kid because 1036 for some reason, along with 818, my birth time, would constantly come up for me. And I ended up finally looking it up when I was like 14 or 15. And I just looked up 1036 and it gave me Ganymede, the one of Jupiter's moons. Apparently that's its
What's it called?
Ganymede or Ganymede. But that was weird to me because I had always, from a very young age, I was attracted to astrology and all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm a Pisces, and Jupiter is one of Pisces planets, and I've always felt connected to Jupiter, like I was there at some point in another dimensional reality or whatever Jupiter is, whatever this realm is, whatever a solar system is, because I don't believe in the whole heliocentric whatever, but I think these places do exist in different realities, and we can access them not by rocket but by portal,
Yeah.
so who really, and maybe our sun is the portal that heads into all these other places. So I looked it up, 1036, and I got Ganymede, one of Jupiter's moons, and I was just like, well, isn't that funny? Because I've always been connected to Ganymede. So 1036 has followed me, and then it shortened to 136, and yeah. So this is just my long tangent to say I'm getting followed. You start to feel followed, right?
The fact that you're tuning into it is really important.
Yeah.
And are you making notes? Are you writing things down?
I'm trying to be better about that. I'm trying to be better about memorizing them,
because
but
you're
really
getting a lot of stuff. You're getting a lot of stuff.
I know. I think because they're so rampant and it's so often now, I'm just remembering it.
Yeah.
But I really should. I should carry a little notebook around with me everywhere and write stuff down. Sometimes I input stuff into my iPad and notes just to remember it.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
But I have to get a little better at it too. But this is something this is like a whole new process for me.
Yeah.
To start writing things down and keeping track, because
I'm sure you need to I'm sure you'd need to condition yourself into it.
Exactly, like everything, right?
Yeah.
Like everything. So this is the book I just finished.
Black Box Program and the Rose Gold Flame as Antidote. That's so funny because we were just talking about how in nature you have a poisonous plant and then close by you have an antidote.
Unbelievable. And it's not very big. See, it's really small. But
who's it by?
Huh?
Who's it by?
Magenta Pixie.
Oh, okay.
She's got some really good stuff. And I think it was like $7. But this is the symbol.
Nice.
You should try and maybe print. I want to do that in stained glass. Did you see how clean the lines are? It'd be real easy. If I were to do a triangle frame, I can fit it right in there, as big as I want.
This is what I do, like as a Mandela artist, like I'm constantly making up little things like that. And I don't know if I probably said it in the show before that, I was making these mandalas just like that, before I even saw the mandalas in mushroom time,
Right. And I think that your energetics, and that's another thing that I heard since the time that we haven't been on, is because when I'll be listening to something and I'll be like, oh my God, that's Holly. So mandalas, people that create mandalas just out of nowhere are tapping in to an energy.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You're going to get answers out of doing that, because even if you sit like with your coloring book, if I were to sit and start working on a mandala now, it's going to take me a long time because there's a lot of stuff in there with different, like I would use different colors, right? As you're coloring a mandala, you tap in to that frequency. So whatever frequency, your band of frequency that you're on is allowing you to do this. There's more information behind this.
Yeah.
There's a lot more information for you behind it.
I'm excited to find it because unearth more truths and rip off more layers,
And it could even be a deeper knowledge for you, your DNA.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It has to do with your DNA and maybe really where your power lies.
Yeah.
Your real fucking power.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a gift, right? Like, we have earthly gifts, but there's gifts inside your bloodline. And there's another book I'm reading of hers right now on the computer. It's like 400 pages. I've got 150 to go. But she talks about the gifts inside your DNA. And because the war on this planet right now is for our DNA, it's because it's what's inside of us. We are she goes into saying, you've heard of the crystal skulls, right?
Yes.
And how they were programmed, and how, because they didn't want anybody to find that information. Well, we hold the last key inside of our DNA. It was programmed into our DNA. That's why they can't find the fucking last one, because it's us.
So is this why they are going crazy with the ancestry and 23andMe stuff to try to find where we all are?
Doesn't it make sense?
Yeah.
That's why.
It does.
Because we are the key to what's going to happen here. We did come back. You know, I've always said it, like Frank has said it, like so many shows have said it, that we are the ones. We are. There's no doubt in my mind now. And it goes right into the whole, I can send it, well, when I'm reading, because it's in my Nook, in my Nook books on the computer, I can highlight and send to your email.
Nice.
That particular paragraph. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to find that particular, well, there's much more I want to send you, but, oh, I got another bee. Oh, is he going out?
Wow.
Well, they keep coming in, but I'm going to send you some, Holly, you need to read this. I just
I'd be
you could have the book and we could do this together.
Oh, it would be awesome.
The information, that's what I said to you. But remember when I said, we'll do one, because I have a lot to talk about. Oh God, he's outside. Go outside. Okay.
Lorena's being accosted by bees today. We got to look up what bees mean.
Shit. Oh, he's in the doorway. Hold on. You're gonna die.
Okay.
I'm going to show you another book that I just finished.
The Illusion of Us, The Suppression and Evolution of Human Consciousness. I like that it's a 3D spherical Earth. Matthew Lacroix. Okay.
Lacroix. Look him up on YouTube. I've been listening to his since we haven't been in contact via video. Blew my mind.
Okay.
Goes into everything right from the beginning and how they did everything. Now, I'm not saying he has all the answers, but I'll tell you what, I got a lot of answers. A lot of questions answered. So another good one.
Okay, thank you. I will definitely check. See, I want to check out that information. I still have this like passion for finding the truth.
You know what?
So
it's
just these moments once in a while you get like, I don't want to do it today.
When I started watching him, I had so many questions answered right from the beginning of how he goes into our ancestors and what happened to them and who did it and why they did it and what they got out of it. Wow. It's good information to start with if you want to start from the beginning, because you know a lot of times we jump into this knowledge and we're getting bits and pieces of what happened, and then somebody says it didn't happen, and then somebody says it did. This answered so many of the beginnings of our lineages on this planet, of everything, the indigenous, everything, the pyramids, the gods and how they came to be gods, so-called, called themselves gods, took all the power away from us. Again, our power was taken away from us. He goes into all of that. Another really good one to get into. And if you can, and he's always got new ones coming out. I can send you some links to some really good ones to start, but you'll find him. He's out there. He's right on YouTube. Okay. A lot of people are interviewing him right now because he has so much knowledge.
Nice.
If you can dive into some of that, then we can bring some of that into the show too.
Yes, I would love to.
So we'll keep up to, you know, like Ra's stuff and his stuff, and yeah, it's interesting, really interesting.
It's
they suppressed us for a reason, Holly.
Well, they're still doing it, and you know, it's up to us to either allow it to happen or say no. And many years ago, I said no. I think I've kind of just always been saying no my whole life, but it's more and more loud and firm now. And I had this experience that I kind of sort of told you about in email, but we haven't gotten into yet. So I think this is a good spot because you mentioned gods and how we're being suppressed and everything. And this was part of my experience not the weekend we just had, but the one before it. Someone knocked on our door and I went and got it, which, like, I looked out the window first and it was a woman and a man dressed, you know, very, their Sunday best, you know what I mean? Long trench coats and a tie and carrying clipboards and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is either a religious thing, which I don't agree with, or this is a political thing, which I don't agree with. So the old me, you know, who used to be very shy and
Yes.
before this, like last 8-10 months, would have been like, oh, I'm just not going to answer the door. But this time I walked right to the door. I opened the door. I went outside and ended up talking to them. And it was a religious thing. And I am one of the most anti-religion people you could ever possibly meet, because I've seen how it has taken people's power from them, and that people just willingly give up their power to Jesus or Yahweh or Jehovah or Muhammad or whatever, right? Instead of going within and finding their own power, you know, and you know, all this stuff. It's awful. And, you know, religion is behind most of the world wars, and it's just a giant corporation. You know, how many, you know, the founder of Jehovah's Witness religion, by the way, it was a Freemason. Yeah. You know, so just all these weird stuff. You know, they like to say church and state aren't connected, but they're the most connected things ever, right? So they started in with me about, they were super nice. And I actually knew the guy because a few weeks prior, he had just moved to the island, and I sold him this old copy of the game Balderdash. You know that game?
Yeah.
And so it was him and his wife, and they were pushing the story of Jesus and all this other stuff. And I was like, I'm going to level with you. You know, I think some people think that religion helps them, but it is absolutely not for me. Like you've kind of come to the wrong place, to be honest. Like it's not ever going to happen. You know,
power.
Yeah, and they were nice, and he was a little pushier than her, and he put me off a tiny bit because there's a darkness. I could feel a darkness, like almost like a demonic attachment connected to him. And I think if that exists, it's alcohol related, which makes sense because, you know, a lot of religious people are like, oh no, you know, don't drink and don't smoke and all this. But like, well, okay, my husband, Eric, he grew up Jehovah's Witness, and he thinks that's what they were, that they were Jehovah's Witness, because not many other religions go door to door canvassing for Jehovah, you know? So, he used to have this experience before he left religion, you know, where he and all the other peers of his age would be at the bar on the weekends, drinking their faces off. And then Sunday morning, oh, Jesus, oh, Jehovah, oh, Sunday best clothes. Yep. It's just phony to the nth degree, right?
Well, because they think that all of their sins are going to be like
absolved because they're the chosen ones.
Because they go to church, and when they go to church, and then when they leave church, they do everything they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Like molest their children.
This is like almost like a free ticket. So I'm going to go pray to God one day a week.
Yep.
And all my sins are absolved. Guess what? Ain't going to happen.
Nah. I mean, if this entity of Jehovah does exist, I really don't think, to me, it sounds like a very jealous, petty, you know, juvenile God, you know, plus, for lack of a better.
It's created too. I mean, that's just thrown at you to scare you into submission.
Yes.
So as long as, I mean, we are born, you know, with knowing right from wrong.
Yeah.
It's right in our DNA. You don't hurt anything. No. Don't kill anything. Like, how easy is that? Now, and again, this guy goes into why this all happened. Okay. Right from the beginning, he tells you how the churches started, what they started preaching, who they took their information from, and whose information they inverted. It's all in there. And that's what I said. There's lots of answers here. These people, these Jehovah's Witnesses, when they come to my door, it's not a good sight. I'm not mean to them, but I'm like, listen, I have my own books that I read.
Yeah.
I've already been through this stuff.
And they will never read your books.
No.
Because they're not allowed.
Say, well, which books do you have? And I'll tell them, and they'll say, what's that?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know what that is, you should read this. Keep your books, read your books, read this too, because your information isn't the only information out there. And I have free will to choose what I want to read and what I don't want to read. And you're at my door, and I'm telling you, my free will overrides what you're selling.
Yeah. It was really interesting, because for the first few minutes I was shaking because I hate conflict.
Me too.
I like harmony. I like everyone laughing and hugging and kissing each other. Like I don't like, look, I disagree with you. Immediately when I disagree with somebody, I'm trying to break that programming. Still, I get really nervous and shaky, and
me too.
And it really sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But after a couple minutes talking to them, like I think after a few minutes talking to me, they saw, okay, there's nothing we can say to get her interested in what we're trying to sell. And I mean, he said to me, he was like, no, I'm not trying to recruit you. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why the fuck are you at my house then? Like, obviously you're trying to recruit me. If I wanted to join a religion, do you not think that I would have the mind enough to research a bunch of religions and then come to you if I really want to be a part of your religion?
Exactly.
But and again, I don't know if they were Jehovah's Witnesses, but Eric makes a good point. You know, I think Mormons are the only other ones that go door to door, but so we talked for a few minutes, and it was actually kind of pleasant, although he was pushing a little bit more. But there was a much earlier on, she could see that, oh, she's not budging. She's not interested. And something that they mentioned was that it was really interesting because they had just come from mainland BC. And they said it's really interesting on the island because we have gotten to many doors and many people have said to us, we're not interested. But then we start talking about something else, you know, and they actually felt like they were actually connecting with other people, even though it wasn't through the religion. So that was an interesting thing for me, because my experience with, if they are Jehovah's Witnesses, my experience, that's my biggest experience, is with Jehovah's Witness. So I'm kind of using it as a blanket to a certain degree. But my experience with religious people has been that when they find out you're not of the same, there's the wall. That's okay, fine, I'm going because you're burning in hell eventually. Or you think that
don't think that their programs don't change on a regular basis on how to approach people, because of the people that are leaving the churches. They're gonna change their information to drag you in. That's what they do. It's all propaganda, and they are trying to recruit you. So he lied right off the bat, because why else would they be going around door to door? For what reason? If I'm not a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon and I don't want to talk to you, you should just be leaving my property.
Well, see, that's
since I put my gargoyle out there, they don't come no more.
Oh, good. He's protecting you. That's wonderful. Good job, Pythagoras.
Yeah.
But you're actually, not to point out, because you're not doing anything wrong, but I can see how you are angry about religion, and how, you know, it's very, and I feel exactly the same way. And that's part of what I'm trying to say, is like, you're being a mirror right now for how I used to get very, very worked up about it. And now the reason that this was such a transformative experience for me was that I didn't get worked up about it. At the end of our like 10-minute conversation, they were leaving, and I said, good luck, and I wish you nothing but positive blessings for the day ahead. You know, and I meant it, and I felt it. You know, there wasn't this like
people at all. There's no anger in me for these people. It's
what
religion has done to us humans.
Yes.
It's what they've done to our ancestors. It's where they started, and how they tricked people into
conforming.
Everything. It was all deceptive right from the beginning.
Yep.
And that, to me, is worth a fight. So but that's worth a fight.
No, I totally agree. But I'm just saying, the thing that was so transformative for me was that at the end of the conversation, I didn't feel like that. I actually didn't even feel like that throughout the conversation. So for me, that's like a barometer to measure how I have evolved
Right.
In that I have become a much more loving, open,
Right.
understanding kind of being. And that's really exciting, you know, because I do feel if I allow myself, I can tap into that whole, like, they have used us and abused us for thousands and who knows how many years.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the people who are just giving away their power, who are just giving away their lives, you know, and to what? To this demonic entity, you know, like I could get going on it because religion is, if I allow myself, maybe one of my most hated things, right? But it was just really amazing to me that I ended up having this conversation. And then she started talking to me about my chickens and all this other stuff. And that's a conversation I will always get into.
Too.
Yeah. Yes.
They're human too. And and you know, if they would just learn to see other people's sides of things and just coming into that conversation with you to connect with you on your level, that was really good. But at the same time, they were being deceptive.
Yeah, I think so, because I think I was seeing...
And your discernment kicked in and you did well.
Yeah, thank you. I think I was seeing more of her authentic self than I was seeing his. But
maybe she's not 100% in like he is. You know what? Maybe she flip-flops.
Maybe. He had a bit of a controlling energy, which is another reason I am not interested in religion, is ain't nobody going to control me. It's not possible, you know? Exactly. But there was one thing, because they try to pull you in with that whole look at how the world is today, the state of everything. And she was like, it's appalling. And I'm like, yes, it is. But I think it's all by design. And he looked at me like it was something that I don't think he's heard before. And he looked at me sideways and was like, interesting. But I didn't go on, because how do you explain that? How do you explain to these NPCs at your door, well, this is your world. I'm only visiting. This is a game for me. This is a simulation for me. For my life, you're just background, you know, which doesn't devalue you or invalidate you. But, you know, you're just kind of there to set the scene, sort of thing.
But at the same time,
but you can't explain that.
No, you can't. But
for a list of reasons, you can't explain it.
Look at the world and the chaos we're in, and it's appalling.
Yeah.
Guess who did that? The same people you are selling for.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes.
I mean, that would have been an opening for me to just say to her, look, you better find out the background of your religion you're following. Do you know anything about it other than what you've been told in your building that you go to? Because there's more to it. And this is what's wrong with people. They don't research where this started.
Well, they are programmed to not look outside of what they already. So,
but
like when
there's a history there. Do you know the history of this religion? That's where I'm coming from. Like, if I want to follow somebody and I find out the history of this and it's bad, I stop.
Yeah.
Because you know you're getting fucked somehow.
Yeah. 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 It's there was one other thing that I thought was actually really funny, just as a funny note. I said to them, I don't agree with any religion in any way, shape, or form. And he said, oh, well, like he thought this was an in or something. Well, did you know that the Bible even predicts the end of religion? And I'm thinking, okay, but if I join your religion, how is that going to help to end your religion? I need to not join your religion. So like he's trying to draw me in. Okay, so you're asking me, you're telling me that your religion itself is not going to exist in some certain amount of time that the Bible has dated to you in some way, shape, or form. You're asking me to go down with a sinking ship, essentially. Like, oh, well, we're not going to be around much longer, but why don't you join? That makes no sense to me.
At the other side of their mouth, they say, well, if you come to the God or Jesus or whoever they're touting, you'll be saved. Guess what? Another thing you could have said there, because that's what this is all about, is trying to save people. You save yourself. Your savior is within you. It's you. Yeah. There is no outside savior. You're your only savior.
That's right.
What has he done for me in all of the turmoils, and anybody else that has come, like growing up and everything you went through? And where was he? He wasn't there.
Yeah.
And put prints in the sand because those were mine.
If your God is so powerful and so omniscient and omnipotent and all this, why is he letting it happen? Exactly. Because wouldn't he want the best for you if he's an all loving, and I mean, obviously Jehovah's not loving in any way, shape, or form. But my whole point to this, my whole takeaway for this whole thing is that it amazed me that I handled it the way that I did. And afterwards, Eric and I were talking about it because he was sitting in our bedroom listening through the open window and getting bits and pieces, because Eric has lived through it as a kid who went through Jehovah's Witness, and and then was disfellowshipped because he told some truths about what was going on behind the scenes, and with like molestation in the family and stuff like that, because that happens, of course, all the time. And they didn't take him seriously, so they disfellowshipped him, even though somebody else was doing the horrible things to people.
Gotta keep the secrets.
Yep. It's all about that. And
but there's a Jesus here, and we want you to follow him, but we keep.
Yes. Yeah, but we all live in lies.
Holy.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh yeah. So, but we were talking about it afterwards, and I was glowing because I was just like, I feel so good about myself. I feel so proud, because that could have devolved into me saying, get the fuck off my property. You guys are a bunch of programmed robot losers, whatever. I could have said anything. I could have tried to debate with them, which I'm not interested in, because debate is no one who wins in a debate. Nobody. I'm constantly trying to convince you to come to my side. You're constantly trying to convince me. Why don't we just bridge the gap? I'm not going to talk with you about your religion because I don't agree with it. But if you want to talk about other things, I'm going to treat you like a human being that I love and value and appreciate, as opposed to like, well, you believe in religion, so I don't want anything to do with you, which is ridiculous. But I used to be a lot more like that. Right. And, since having the understanding the last few years that most of the people here are programmed a certain way, and this really is their realm. I mean, ultimately, we're the interlopers, right? We've come in to play this game. This is really their world and their realm and their system, and we've come into it. This is how I see it. Having this feeling and this knowledge and this gnosis, or whatever you want to call it, the last few years, it's really helped me in my heart to bridge a gap between me and these other people who, like I've got friends who have vaccinated my kids and won't listen to anything I say about what vaccines actually do and what they're actually causing. And look at the amount of children. I mean, these are people who have children that have allergies thanks to vaccines and stuff like that. And it's like, they just aren't interested in getting into that because they believe the science, which has all been bought and paid for anyway. But they're really good people. They are still caring and compassionate. It's just that they've been programmed with there's a limited capacity, Yeah.
And we talked about this, and they're not supposed to be where we're at because they're not supposed to be. If they ever come to this point, then that's because they're supposed to. But there's going to be people that die with this inside them. Yeah. And we'll have to come back if, there's a place to come back to and do it again, because part of the enlightenment is learning about everything that's going on here. So we can, when we leave this place, not have to come back and go to our next level. There's people on this planet that will never get it, and it's okay.
See, you're saying all this, and you know what? It's making the gears turn, because I'm starting to think, okay, if this is just a simulation, maybe everybody is quote unquote real, and it's not just us. It's just that we are much farther along on our evolutionary consciousness journey. So maybe at one point we were like these people who came to my door. Maybe we've played this game hundreds of millions of times. Right. And every time we evolve just a little bit more. And maybe the whole point of the game is to realize it's just a fucking game. Have fun with it.
That's what he goes into.
Nice.
I mean, the title speaks for itself, right? The suppression and evolution of human consciousness, because it has been suppressed. And now we're evolving our human consciousness where we should have been when we first came in. But because of the control and what they've done, we had to start from ground zero again. We don't have to do that anymore. We're going to take this with us. We are meant to be on this level. And there's people that are higher than us on these levels.
Yeah, sure.
but at least we're exploring it, and we're conscious where we're at.
Yeah.
And that again speaks for itself. There's no words. It speaks for itself. I won't go backwards.
No way.
I know you won't go backwards, and a
No
lot
way.
of people we're connected with won't go backwards. We're only going to go forwards. We are the ones that
we've been waiting for.
We and we understand the battle for our DNA and our consciousnly.
Yes.
They can have as many consciousnesses as they want, but they're not going to have mine.
Yeah.
They had mine way in the beginning, but there's people that they can't get their conscious, and they should just leave us be.
Yeah.
Because there's enough people on this planet with the consciousness that they need. They don't need us, but they want to get rid of us.
Yeah. That's kind of, but then, okay, so what I just said, but then what you just said made me think, well, you know, okay, you've got this number in the Bible, that 144,000.
They go into that too, the 144,000. We are the 144,000.
Okay. That's what I think.
Those are fractals. There's 144,000 plus 144,000 plus it's. I just read it last night. If there's fractals of 144,000, we are within that group.
Okay, this is really interesting. I haven't told you this yet, but it was I think it was last summer or like September, October. I had this vision, and I don't remember what state I wasn't in a mushroom state or anything like that. I probably had weed, because I have weed every day. But I just suddenly got this vision, and everything in the vision was like light, everything was very cold colored, very light blue, light grays. Nothing was very warm, but it didn't feel cold in my heart, and it didn't feel cold temperature wise when I looked at it and was seeing this vision. And it was 3 beings standing over a huge, like this big, kind of like a crystal ball. And I guess it would be maybe about this big. It would maybe be about like 3.5 feet across, you know.
Okay.
And so you've got these 3 beings standing behind the ball, and they're looking down at this ball, and their hands are just gently, so you've got one pair of hands, one pair of hands, one pair of hands, just gently fingertips grazing the ball. And I felt like that ball was our world, and that these 3, whoever they were, I have no idea how to even, you know, I'm sure in meditation maybe I could find something, or maybe the next time I have some mushrooms, maybe the first time I do ayahuasca, I've got everything, I just got to do it. Maybe I would question this, because I'm wondering if that the first 144,000, for example, came from this 3, because the message that I got that came along with it was that these were like the first tier of, if you want to think of like a pyramid, but not in terms of superior to inferior, just in terms of this is where it started and this is how it's progressed, kind of thing, right? So we have these 3 beings, and I don't know if they're male or female. I feel like they were both in either, right? And they're all dressed in these long cloaks. I didn't see faces because there were hoods over the faces, but it didn't have a ritual thing about it. It had more of it did have a magical component about it. There was definitely, I felt magic within them. And the thing that I started thinking after that was, maybe these 3 are us in our purest form. We are these 3. But then we decided, as the 3, we're going to create a universe. We're going to create, because we're bored wherever we were, right? So we're going to, or maybe we were scientists, magicians, whatever, healers, you know, and we decided, okay, each one of us, you know, we'll create a chunk of beings. Each one of us will create a chunk of beings, and then we'll take these beings and we'll plop them into the simulation, and we'll just see what happens, you know. So I don't know much else about that, save for what I've just said, but that was the vision that I got like 8
Okay,
10 months ago.
Interesting. 2 things here. I'm going to send you probably a couple of paragraphs that I just read about last night. Exactly what you're pertaining to. Exactly what you're pertaining to. Not even kidding you. I will send them to you as soon as we're off here.
I can't wait.
Number 2, listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
I heard when Trump first got elected, I don't believe in politics either.
Yeah.
I don't, but I did hear this, that he actually went into a room with, or somebody said something about him being over a dome thing and they had their hands on it.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
And I don't know if I could dig that up and where I heard it and whatever, but I pictured almost identical when I heard it, what you just said. And because this thing that they do, and they just take their fingertips and it's I don't know where he was when he did this. If he goes off world, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to send you that because what you just said is in this whole freaking, I don't know, it might be 2 pages long, but it's not a long read. Interesting though.
I felt like the fingertips on the glass, I don't think it was glass. It was something else, but it was something much more ancient and much more multidimensional. Like these weren't beings who were living in some sort of physical plane. They had a look of bodies, but they were living out of time, out of space, multidimensional, all, you know, multi-locating all at once.
Like, was it like a plasma?
Maybe, but they did look solid. They looked solid, but I didn't get the feeling of solid. I got the feeling of energetic, that I was seeing a symbol
that
of something.
They were putting their fingers on, maybe was plasma, the things that they were putting their finger on?
Maybe.
Instead of like a solid piece of glass or something, that something was etheric, like
it was, that's
like a living field.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense to me. That it was something like biological too, because
I gotta do this. You're gonna be interested in this read.
How they could affect it, from what I can understand, how they could affect it was the energy and their mental intent and their emotional intent was connected to this little world.
So I think that right there, what you just said is, I think a lot of what the dark magic on this planet does is that's what they affect things to change, to keep their for them to not lose their power, to stay in power. But it's not working now because of what's happened, because of the planet's alignments, because of the Aquarian age coming in. This is all about us now. They're done. Just like Savan Bomar said, they're done. Yeah. Their power is not working anymore. So even when they look, like, remember when the looking glass stopped working for them?
Yes.
Well, this is the same thing. This is going to stop working now. Why Trump was doing it, I don't know. I don't know what kind of being he is and if he's good or bad, because I don't follow it. I just know that he's made some changes. Some people think it's good. Some people think it's bad. Some people think that he has to make certain changes that are not going to look good on the outside to everybody, but actually have to do this to get to the next good. Like, there's so many things that are confusing. That's why I don't follow it, because it's all confusing for a reason. Yeah. You're never going to get answers out of anything like that. But that's really interesting that you had that vision. Yeah. You do have it. You have something there. You need to start writing this shit down.
I know. I'm terrible.
I'll tell you what, I would be writing if I had that. And I probably do get it, but I dismiss it. And Solaris Blue Raven said that I do get messages, and I'm dismissing them. I'm dismissing them in my dreams. I get them in my dreams.
Yeah, I never dismiss it because I've seen too many times.
Well, I'm so busy. I'm not,
I
don't have time to sit down and integrate it and write it all down. So I think I'm going to remember, and I say to myself, I got to remember this so I can write it down, and then I forget. So the people that came to your door, were you having those feelings like before they came? Like you were like really down in the dumps and, not very communicative, like you didn't want to communicate and stuff. Was that before them?
No, I think, when I go through that, it tends to come in pockets of, like I'll have a pocket of like a week and a half where I'm like, I just don't want to really talk to anybody. I want to be social, Okay. So it's hard to say, but I don't think I was down at that point. And after that point too, I didn't feel more down than I normally do.
Okay.
So I think that I was pretty good about keeping defenses up. I think just the act and the art alone of standing authentically in your center and saying, no, this does not work for me, keeps those shields up, you know, as opposed to, oh, I don't know, okay, maybe I'll listen to you and you can come in and we'll talk for an hour. Like, I'm not doing that.
Right. I just wanted to know, because sometimes interacting with people, especially that type of thing where there could be negative energy exchange.
Well, yeah, he had an entity connected to him for sure.
And the thing is with that is that they can actually jump onto you.
Yeah.
And you don't know why you're having a bad day. Like even shaking somebody's hand, you got to be real careful, right? You got to clear your energy as much as possible. I carry crystals with me in my purse.
It's a good idea.
And the ones from Raw too, because I got crystals from Raw a little while back. I carry them with me everywhere, and the TFR ones too. I carry them with me in my purse.
Nice.
And I don't have. I seem to have better energy when I'm out. I'm able to deal with negativity really easily while I'm out, and I do attribute it to that. Now these are all like, you know, anything that you carry, right? It's really just a symbol of just staying strong.
Yes.
And positive. So that's, I do like carrying them, and I do believe in it. So
yeah,
that's why I asked you. So that's nothing to worry about then.
No, like I said, like I felt so good after that, you know, and I just kept bringing it up to Eric, like, I'm really proud of myself. And he'd be like, I'm proud of you too, babe. You know, like,
good.
I didn't really react to what they were putting out. Like in the past, and to a certain degree, I still do see it this way, but in the past, you know, I would get so threatened when a religious person would come to my house, because it's like, you're trying to make me something that I'm not. You're trying to make me conform, and that's not something I do, you know? So, you know, it was always sort of a threatening thing. And I always kind of had this thing about me where I was like a raccoon, where I'm sweet and I purr and I look adorable and stuff. And then you back me into a corner and the claws and the fangs come out, right? And I didn't feel, to begin with, I didn't feel backed into a corner. And what was interesting is that I've got some kind of like Pavlovian responses from my childhood. When someone knocks on my door or the phone rings, I usually start to shake and start to get like kind of breathless, because when I was growing up, my father, he had his own business. He was a demolition contractor. He was the head guy. So he would hire all these, like, I hate to say it this way, but it's, you know, these like lower people, you know, these alcoholics, you know, who live in trailers and like just a shitty town and stuff like that. Just kind of like, I don't feel that way about them, but as a child, that was kind of how I was brought up to sort of see them, as they are a little bit less than us. We're still nice to them, but they're a little, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but, you know, druggies and things like that. And so he would hire these guys and give them jobs, and they, for the most part, they did really great jobs. But really often we would have people coming to the door, you know, oh, you know, like drunks and stuff. And like, oh, is Bruce hiring? You know, so it got to the point where my mom wouldn't even want to answer the door. And so, and it bugged her so much, because she was antisocial too, you know, and that when someone knocked on the door, she would peek out the window and she'd go, girls, get down. So it was like this game we played where we sat down underneath the window and waited for so now I've noticed, as, you know, a 38-year-old woman, that when someone knocks on my door, I just this starts happening, and I start and sweating and stuff. But when this happened, when they knocked on the door, I calmly looked out the window and I walked confidently to the front door and I opened it up and said, hey, and there was none of that. It was like that layer had been stripped off of me. And that in itself is really exciting, you know, because
so your programming as a child, you broke through it.
Yeah. And that was something that has permeated everything. Like, I can expect a package and someone comes to the door, and I can't even think when I talk to the person because I'm shaking so badly, you know, like I've had to sign for packages with my hand like, because it just strikes such a Pavlovian response in me. And my mother was incredible. She was an incredible person, an incredible mother. But, you know, we all have our programmings. And this was something she didn't want to deal with, was drunks and stuff coming to the door and bugging dad for a job and all this other stuff, because she had to deal with it because he was at work, you
Yes,
know?
she was protecting you. At the same
Yeah.
time, though, she programmed you that
Yeah.
people are different and in a
Yeah.
different level in life. And yeah, so you broke through that, and you're standing in your power, and that always makes you feel good too. Because I
Yeah.
find the same thing. When I stand in my power, I feel good. I'm like, I did the right thing.
Yeah.
And whereas before I used to question it, I used to think, oh, what a bad person am I to say that or to make that person feel that way. But now I know what it was, and I didn't realize that that was my own power coming out, standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, you know, and I wanted to say, your background is so much nicer than my bedroom wall background. You know,
I had to come out and sit in the sun because it's really cold in the
beautiful.
house.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But, you know, you said standing in power, and I had another experience yesterday because I sent you all those photos of what our property looks like from up. And I climbed a ladder to get on top of our cabin.
You did?
Yeah, and the first, I'm not a heights fan. You know, I am fearless, but I think the biggest part of being fearless is not being a person who never has any fears. Because to me, that's like dissociative, you know, like, oh, I don't feel anything. But I think what fearless truly means is being scared and saying, no, I'm going to do this.
Absolutely.
And I had that experience yesterday. I got much of the way up the ladder, and Eric was already on top of the cabin. He was cleaning it. He did all the gutters and everything yesterday. So he was sweeping off the top of the cabin, and it's flat up on top of the cabin. And that's where my studio is. And he was already up there. So I was going up the ladder, and as I get up each rung, like the nervousness is getting more and more and more. And then when you get to the top 3 rungs, where now you're expected to like lift your leg over and everything. Yeah. I'm short like you. We're both 5'2", right? So I was mind fucking myself the whole time. And when I got to that third last rung, I just stood there shaking. And I was wow. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And Eric's like, you can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. Just do it. Just lift your foot and put it on the next one and just keep going. You know, take it one step at a time. Breathe. Take your time. He's so amazingly supportive. And it took me maybe 5-7 minutes, you know, to convince myself to move from the third last rung to the second last rung. Yep. And it was the most terrifying thing because I'm looking down and I'm like, okay, at this point.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing to do is look down.
Yeah, at this point, if I fall, there might be hospitalization involved, and I'm not interested. You know, but like the first 5 steps, you're like, if I fall, the wind's going to be knocked out of me. I'm going to be sore, but I was already sore from all the gardening and digging I've done this week anyway. So I was like, whatever. But then you get to a certain point and I couldn't do it. I kept lifting one foot and then putting it back down and never putting my weight on it. And then trying the other one, like maybe that would help. And it wouldn't happen. And I said, I just wanted to climb back down. And I said, but if I climb back down, I'm going to be so pissed at myself because I was right there. And I really want to get up on top of the cabin and take all of these pictures of our garden and my new little garden and all the chickens lounging around. And, you know, wow. So I finally, I just took some deep breaths and I don't know where it came from, but I finally got up the next rung, stepped over and got on. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, yes, I did it. You know,
that's good. That's good.
Coming down was surprisingly easy. Nowhere near as hard. Yeah. You know, the first initial putting your foot on the top rung is incredibly nerve-wracking. And I mad props to my father because that was such a huge part of his job, being a demolition dude, tearing down buildings and houses and shit, was ladders and being on roofs and stuff. And I'm just like, totally mad props because, you know, I mean, I'm sure you do it every day. You get used to it. You don't even think about it anymore. But it was such a big deal for me to get over my fear. And that's what fearless is, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's getting over it.
You conquer your fear. Rod talked about that in his show too. When you watch it, you'll see, he said, I'm not, I'm fearless, but it doesn't mean that I'm not, that there won't be any fears or something, that he conquers through them. And you know what I've been finding? I've been doing that too. I've been facing my fears like head on. So that's exactly what you did. You conquered your fear. I like climbing ladders. I grew up with ladders, so I'm always climbing ladders. Like my husband is like, you can't stand on the top of that, because I'll get right on the top and stand up. I was
Nice.
like, why? I'm fine. Don't scare me because then I will fall. But
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, those don't scare me, but other things do.
Yeah. I mean, and it was a compulsion too. It was like, as soon as I saw Eric was putting that ladder up, I knew in my heart of hearts, I got to climb that fucking ladder.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's going to do something for me. Like
Yeah.
immediately I got that thought and I was like, okay, and I'm going to take pictures. And then I put on my shoes and I grabbed my iPad and I
Yeah.
walked over to it without even thinking
Those
about
are
it.
nice pictures too. Those are
Yeah.
like really beautiful.
Yeah.
So peaceful looking. Wow.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
So
I
nice.
need to do it. I need to do my next show outdoors, I think. Film it
Yeah, well,
outdoors.
I wouldn't be able to sit. I do have a computer, a PC downstairs, but it's so dark down there and cold.
Yeah.
What's the matter, Tobe? What's the matter, baby? He's coughing and hacking.
Aww.
I don't know why, but
Our
yeah,
our oldest cat Josie has been sneezing a lot lately, and
yeah,
I think it's just all chemtrail related.
yeah. I
You
think
know.
so too. Christopher's really sick right now, and I keep saying to him, "You got to take the Eye of Life." So he did take some.
Have you taken it?
Oh yeah, I've this is like my 4th bottle.
What do you think?
Oh my God, it works.
I've been in.
I got to write a review. I haven't done that yet, but it's good because I can monitor everything. Like if I'm feeling like down or something and I take that, it totally changes. I do get aches and pains. Everybody does.
Yeah.
But I able to, it actually takes it away.
Wonderful.
It does work. I'm going to get the pet. They have the furry friends out now too. So I'm going to get some for the dogs. They said to just put it in their water, so I'm going to do that. Not that they have any issues, but it's going to make them feel like
more preventative.
Yeah, more preventative than anything. But yeah, love it. I got to order another bottle. So
yeah, we've been intending for a long while, but the money hasn't been there to do it.
Yeah,
but as soon as it is, I'm grabbing it up because I have a good feeling about it too.
Yeah, I was supposed to do that on Sunday or yesterday or Saturday, and I didn't get to it, so maybe I can do that today if I remember. But yeah, I like your mug. I sent you a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
I saw that. Thank you.
So yeah, I'll send you some more. But my husband was texting through while I was trying to send to you. So that's about the 144,000. That part of it. There might be a little bit more. I'll have to go back and see. But that was just quickly. I did that because it's on my phone too. So
nice.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else can you think of? You said you made some discoveries this week.
Oh, and yeah,
the last couple weeks
was about the books and what I've been reading.
Nice.
And yeah, so I did get out most of it. I probably have more, but I'll make notes for the next. The clouds are coming in.
Ugh.
You see them?
Oh yeah. At least they're not long, thin, sprayed lines.
Well, they were last week. They were spraying. They've been spraying crazy around here. So
yeah, here too. Here too. And you know, this was one of the reasons we moved out here. May 16th will be 5 years. This is one of the reasons we moved out here is because we felt that we're not going to have to contend with chemtrails. Because when we were in St. Thomas, Ontario, holy shit,
really
it was
bad.
It was just X's and lines and
wow,
like all day, every day. Rarely did we get even a sky that looks like yours right now with the blue and big fluffy white clouds. Rarely we would get that. Just in the last couple of years we were in Ontario. That's what we were seeing. And then we came here, in the first few years we were here, we saw maybe like 5 chemtrails in a couple of years.
Really?
You know? And then just in the last year and a half, 2 years, they have been bombing.
They're everywhere. And they're saying they're terraforming. They're terraforming.
Yeah.
Earth.
I used to think it was a reptilian thing, that maybe the reptilians that are here are terraforming us and the planet and everything because they can't live here as comfortably as they would like to, so they're trying to change it so they can, and in the meantime it's killing us, you know, win-win situation for them, right? But I don't know what I feel it is now, you know, it could be something like that, of course,
Yeah,
but
it changes for me too, because I heard some recent information about that, and it changes for me too, because now they're saying there's good reptilians and bad reptilians. It makes sense because the dualistic planet.
sure.
So the ones that are, they they're they're on their last throws right now, so they're throwing everything at us, right?
Yep.
So as long as, like, what I just have to, for me, I just stay positive and think it's not going to affect me.
That's right.
It's just not
Make it
going to affect me.
irrelevant.
Even if
Yeah.
I get a cold out of it or whatever, my body's only going to adjust to it, and the next time it won't be so bad.
Yep.
It's just like
Yeah.
everything when you're sick.
Yeah, and I've noticed the last couple of years when I get sick, it's not like how I used to get sick. And thankfully, it's not, I mean, okay, so November of 2016, I started to just get sick like all the time. And my feeling at the time was that maybe they started to spray something new, like perhaps lithium, because
I heard about that.
because I was all of a sudden getting like, waking up in the morning, getting out of bed and going, I'm exhausted. Why am I exhausted? I just slept for 8-9 hours, you know. And another aspect was suddenly just depressed all the time, like crying for seemingly no reason, you know, like I could just be, yeah, exactly. And headaches. And so when I looked it up, and I was getting, like, I would go outside to take care of the chickens, and I'd be outside for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'd come back in, and within a couple of minutes I would have a pounding migraine, you know, some to the point where I couldn't even talk. And then in 2017, as I was going through all this grieving stuff, grieving the world, grieving my mother, grieving life itself in this realm, I was also sick in 2 separate occasions. And the first one happened in March 2017, and I got so sick that I lost my voice for 3 days and my hearing.
Oh.
And thankfully it was at different times. I lost the hearing in one ear for a couple of days, and then it popped and opened up again, and then I lost the hearing in my other ear for a couple of days. So it was like, and this is not something that happens to me, you know, like I rarely get sick, you know, like we're very picky about what we eat. We stick to like plant-based, non-processed stuff, and they'll try to make everything from scratch as much as possible. And I was slammed with whatever was going on. And then I think I got used to whatever they were newly spraying.
Yeah, that's what I find too. I think my body's just adjusting to it and getting rid of it. But I am still drinking the water with the what?
Shungite?
Shungite in it, yes. Yeah. Every day. And I find my energy level goes up. And you know what? Because it comes in a little package with little pieces of it, after I've had a couple of days with them in the bottom of my bottle, I just keep them in there and I just keep filling it up. I drop them in my plants, because I start plants in water. Like if a plant starts to die off, I'll take pieces of it and start rooting them in water. So I can have a new plant. And I've been dropping them in the bottoms of the glasses. I gotta show you this. It's crazy. They start getting bubbles, like almost like oxygen bubbles in them. Show you. And they start growing like really good, and they don't die. You see the shungite in the bottom?
Nice.
But that's been, look at that. Those fell off that plant outside. And so I put the shungite in there, and do you see the bubbles? This one has more. Yeah, see the bubbles? Cool. That's all oxygen in the bottom of the plants. And they start rooting really quick. And that's my mint. I took a bunch of pieces of mint. I bought organic mint for a recipe, and there was some left over, and I didn't want to kill it and throw it away. So I
oh, you got to flip your camera. There it is.
Wrong button. But yeah, the shungite, if you can get a hold of some.
I have some in my studio.
Oh, good.
I do my work with the shungite right there, but I want to do it, actually. I want to get another piece and plop it in water all the time.
Well, the package I bought is just it's a little plastic package, and there's just a bunch of pieces in there. So I have to rinse them, because it's almost like when I put charcoal in my aquarium for the water, I have to rinse it really, really well. What's it called? I'm drawing a blank. It's like charcoal. It's like scam. I don't remember. Anyways, it's like that. It's got like a black good soot to it. So I rinse it off, and then I keep it in my glass for several days, and I replace it. But as I replace it, I drop them in my plants, and you can just drop it on the top of the plant too. It doesn't have to go in water. It works outside of the water too. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But I find that that protects me, and everything else I do protects me. You know, I do protection stuff. So yeah, let them. I mean, there's nothing that they can do, and that's why they're so pissed off.
We've been feeling the last few years that like the way we need to live our lives, and I think most of the reason we did move from Ontario to Salt Spring Island was like we needed to be somewhere where it all of the bullshit and all of the illusions felt so much less relevant to our lives and to our goals, and they are. I mean, I still, in the last couple of weeks, I've been dealing with like my own version of sick, you know, where my ears get a little clogged and my throat gets a little sore, but thankfully it doesn't change my voice so much that I can't do auditions or do jobs or record anything, you know, so whatever. I have no problem feeling a little weak, feeling a little dizzy, as long as I can keep going and keep plugging and not give up, you know?
And it's going to happen because you have to integrate all the energies that are coming in too. So it might not always be bad.
And maybe, sorry, but maybe when we're integrating all these different versions of ourselves and they're coming back in and joining up with us, maybe that's making us stronger, like in Jet Li's The One.
It just makes sense that your body has to adjust.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to have a downtime. Otherwise it can't. So that just makes sense to me. So that's why I don't always equate my being sick to a chemtrail, because I would rather think of it like my body's adjusting to something or clearing something. So that I don't always have to go to the dark side with it. You know what I mean? And
that's a good point.
Better.
That's definitely a silver lining, to look at it more like, well, this is a way my body is progressing and getting stronger, you know, by going through whatever it is that's happening around me in the environment.
Because that's why a lot of people are dying on the planet right now, because they can't integrate the energies right now. So if you can't, your body's going to break down and die. So you have to allow your downtimes. And when you have those downtimes, you and me both, it's okay that we don't do a show one week if we need downtime, because we have to integrate. And then when we do come back on, we have more to talk about. You know, not that we don't.
That's true.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but, all the time.
But it's relevant to what's going on right now, and we should probably keep it as current as we can. It's good to bring up past everything past, because it all comes down to this point anyways. So, you know,
I liked it this morning. I liked just emailing you this. I emailed you on the toilet and said, are you free in like an hour and a half, want to do a show? And you were like, all right.
I was getting ready just in case we were going to have a show anyways.
Perfect.
Because I told Bill, I said, I have put this show off, and she's had to put the show up because of we weren't feeling good. And I'm doing it Monday no matter what. So. Yeah.
And we did. There it is.
And we did. See? We put
set a goal and maintained it.
But again, when it happens, it's when it's supposed to. Yep. So we have to remember that too. Everything in good time, right? And we're not committed to the point where we have to be here every day or every whatever day at certain time. We do it when we're ready to do it, because that's our freedom. We can do that. We have the freedom.
That's something I already knew, and I already carried with me. But when you and I started talking, you know, you remind me of that a lot, which is really good, because that's one that I kind of get on the fence about, letting things go the way they're meant to go, but also being proactive and getting my goals attained.
Sure.
You know, so I'm trying to find that balance in there. That's why I don't want us to go too long between episodes.
I don't either.
But this was good. We both needed this.
But the control, you have to at some point say, okay, I'm trying to control something that can't be controlled.
Yes.
So in letting go, you're allowing what's supposed to happen. There are times that you're going to have to take control. But in this case, with the show and stuff, I think that we have to honor the fact that we both have lives to live. You know, I don't only work at home. I work at the office too. And sometimes, you know, it gets busier. some days and other days, and it might run into our showtime.
Yeah.
Where we'll push it off for the next day, or if you get sick and I get sick. So the control doesn't have to be, you know, with
Yeah.
this part. We won't let it go too long because, hey,
No.
when we both agreed that we were going to do this, we did it.
Yeah.
We're here.
And it lifts us up and invigorates us.
Sure. I knew that was going to happen too. I was like, the next show is going to make me feel good because I haven't talked to you in so long.
Yeah.
So, and really it hasn't been that long, but in so long, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because also you and I haven't been emailing as much the last week and a half or whatever, because we've been more in 3D in our own specific 3Ds, right?
Take care of what
which will happen.
Take care of, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So like, and with Christopher going through his pain, I just had to be there for him, you know, constantly 100%, because my thing about it and my fear about it is that, look, I've lived through this, and I didn't want him to feel that he had nobody to talk to and end up doing the same fucking. So I wanted to be sure he was on a level. He was level. He was even keeled, and now I can get on with my life. But that was hard. That was something I did not expect to come into my life, and it did.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to relive all of that again too, which was very hard. So
I'm glad you're feeling a little better.
Oh, I'm a lot better. I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah. And you
I
know,
have.
I learned again from it.
Yeah.
You know?
I have to point out, it's really interesting because we've had, what is this, the fourth meeting of today, because they cut you off at 40 minutes if you don't pay a subscription. So we're going to do the subscription, but because it messes with the flow, right? But through the 4 different chunks we've done today, and I've even had a moment where a little thing came up saying you've got slow internet or something at the moment, like unreliable internet. There was one time this whole conversation, Laureen, that your voice went robotic, and it was just now, and it was when you said Christopher dealing with a lot of pain. The word pain was the only thing that came through robotically.
Wow.
Yeah. So that carries a lot of weight, doesn't it?
Yes. That's crazy.
Yeah. I hope it showed up in the video. Otherwise, I look like a crazy person, but or more so of one.
Well, we'll see when you render. Well, when it renders and you put it up, we'll see.
Yeah. I'll let you know where it is, because I was just like, okay, so the whole conversation, you've been clear as a bell, and then just that one word. It's incredible.
Good. Awesome. Thank you for telling me that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh. It's been so great talking with you, as per usual. Your insights mean so much to me.
And yours mean to me too. I mean, we play off
each
other. It's crazy.
Thank you, twin.
I mean, everything for a reason, man. And I'm not going to go anywhere else with that.
That's right. That's right. Well, even if it feels real shitty in the moment.
Yeah.
Everything for a reason. Something will come from it.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, in regards to like the way the world is and the trajectory that, you know, the path that we're on, you know, it's I don't see any outcome other than us thriving, other than
winning.
Us.
We're going to win this time.
Essentially winning, yeah, but with nobody really losing, you know, just for the expansion of everything.
Right, because what's happening is they just don't want to relinquish their powers where they have to, because of the new age that's coming in. It's not conducive to them anymore. They've already had their time. Now it's our time. And they don't want to share because they're, right? Meh, poor me. Meh. Well, guess what, buddy? Buddies. Yeah, it's they just have to give up. They've already done enough damage, and now we have to repair it all. So
I think we are. I think, you know, like I said at the beginning of the show, I have these, once in a while I get these things like, well, what's the point? You know, we're just talking about this stuff. We're not really doing anything. But but when we are talking, so many things are happening on multiple dimensional levels that we're not seeing at the moment, because we're in this, right? We're in this voice and sight and 3D quote unquote reality. You know, so we don't see all the really great things that are happening. It's like, okay, an interesting whatever. But Eric and I smoke cannabis every day. So sometimes you get a cannabis that has more CBDs than it does THC. So if you're going through some pain that day, you'll find you don't really get high. You'll just, the pain will numb because that's where it needs to go. Now, if you smoke more, you'll get high. But if you only smoke a certain amount and you've got pain somewhere in your body, and sometimes I have pain somewhere and I don't even really realize it, and then I'll smoke a joint that has a little more CBD in it than THC, or, it has that prevalent in it, and I won't really feel much of anything. I might feel a little stoned, but for the most part I feel like, oh well, it must have gone somewhere that I'm just unaware of. It must be doing work behind the scenes, right? Which is where everything happens anyway. This is just the stage where it all manifests,
right?
But yeah,
and it all affects what we're doing, affects our DNA too.
Yes.
And whoever watches it, it's going to affect their DNA. So, I mean, like you said, on a multitude of levels, something's going on. Whenever you hear, something that resonates with you, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of good, and that's, basically anything I've always wanted to do is just good, and it's just going to get better. So
I think so. I think it's all, I've told you before my analogy of the tower, where it's not about the tower. You don't got to think about where you're going to be in 50 years. You don't got to think about that. All that matters is the conscious, the bricks that you're setting into place. Make sure they're good. Make sure your math is good. Make sure that you're building the things straight. And then when you're at the end of your life and you're looking back at the tower, your life, you can go, this is great. This is strong. No wind is going to knock it down. I think if you're constantly, it's like that saying, if you live in regret, you think about the past. And if you live in worry, you think about the future. Be in this moment now. And be conscious of what you're doing, what you're saying, and how you're affecting things around you on however many levels you can possibly be conscious of. And at the end of your life, you're not going to look back and have regrets. You're going to look back and see a strong tower,
I always said that. I always said I will never die with regrets because I'm too aware of the process. I said that for a long time. I always said I won't die with any regrets. I also used to say when I was younger that I'm not coming back here, and I didn't even know anything about any of this before. I said I will not come back here.
I told Eric that like 6 years ago. You do know that I'm not coming back to Earth like ever again, right? This is my last time, so I hope that you also don't come back, and we'll chill together elsewhere.
Exactly.
Is your sky all white now? Oh, it's all gray. Yeah.
It's like,
it's gonna rain, baby.
Do you see the bird up there?
Oh, yeah.
He's just floating in the air. Did you see him? He's just floating in the air. We have a lot of cranes and geese and ducks that fly over the house, because right in front of the house is a lake. So they have babies. One mother goose, yesterday we were leaving to go get coffee, and Bill stopped the car and like, what's wrong? He's like, look at the babies. She had 18 babies. One goose had 18 babies.
Wow. And that's my favorite number.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So there's another 1 and 8, and my favorite number. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect way to cap off the show with yet another number sort of synchronicity.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Every time that happens, I turn to Eric and I go, you can see that this is all just a computer simulation or something, right? And he just kind of looks at me and goes, yeah. Because you get the same friggin' numbers over and over and over and over. It's just like, that's such a big one to me. It's so weird.
Yeah, I know. I know. I told you that in your email. I said the fucking synchronicities of these numbers is crazy. And I did hear something I listened to yesterday. Maru Matu. I don't know if you ever. I'll send you her link. She said it's really important right now. All these the numbers that are coming in right now are important to us. Which ones we see.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the same ones I'm seeing. So we must be on the same path. Well, of course we are.
Same frequency.
Mm-hmm.
The 88.8 frequency or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. True that. It's 303.
Of course. Of course it's a number like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. This is, of course I'm pinging off the rails now.